For the prior decade, Microsoft was in, and I hate this term, but I think you'll know what I mean. The culture was what we would call toxic masculinity. Some of Something True circles is based in nonviolent communication. And I love when, I think his name is Satya Nadella, who took over as CEO of Microsoft. He took the nonviolent communication book and handed it out to all of his direct reports, all the people that answered to him, and said, this is the way we're going to communicate now. And so this is an entirely new way of speaking with others, communicating with others, and listening to others.
What if the best chapter of your life hasn't even begun yet? What lies within you is the power to live brighter, bolder, and truer than ever before. So welcome to Vivatude, where caregiving, connections, and career come into balance, and where your vitality, vision, and voice shines through. Because the revolution isn't out there, it's already within you. Welcome to Vivatude.
Welcome back. We are talking about the power, the energy, the potential for transformation by sitting in a circle with other human beings, and especially a kind of circle called Something True, created by my guest today, John David Latta, and his new book, Something True Circles. And so, John, we're going to talk about how people can begin to implement this in their real life. Now, there's many people, especially people that are interested in this kind of content, that have some experience in spiritual practices and emotional development, and it would be a perfect way for them to step into a leadership role and bring this into their communities, whether they host a meetup group, which is one of the ways that you do it, or just call together a private circle. But I'm curious, these principles are pretty universal in terms of the guidelines that you set up for circles. So could people use this in families or in workplaces or other situations? What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, my experience has been a mixture of people I don't know and strangers. Probably a third of the people that come to all of my circles I've never met in my life. It's kind of like a friend of a friend. Hey, I heard about this thing. I wanted to try it. And so I have what I would call an open circle. Some people prefer closed circles where it's only the people I know. There's more of a sense of safety and trust in that regard. Maybe call 10 people you know and want to practice something true with the people you know. But it absolutely could be done with families. And you mentioned that off the air, and I never thought about that. That would be freaking beautiful. It's just, how can the parents and the kids, or the parents and the grandparents, or the aunts and the uncles, how can we speak our truth to each other? How can we speak honestly to each other without sounding like we're attacking? And then how can we learn to listen? In families, you may have heard the term time trapping. And so, you are whatever, 50 years old, and you go to see your parents, and you automatically turn into a teenager again. People tend to, in families, trap people in time, and they don't see that this person has grown and evolved and changed. And so one of the ways that can happen is teaching people how to listen, and listen with what I think the Zen Buddhists call beginner's mind, where it's if you've never met this person before in your life, and you're appreciating what they're presenting to you as if you've never met them. And so in this way, we all get to grow and evolve in our relationships. So families would be great. Work would be great. I think any place where you're with people that know you a little too well, and maybe just think, oh, Lauren, she's always this way. Oh, John, he's always that way. That might be true, but there might be more to John and Lauren today because we, like others, grow and change and evolve. And ultimately, it's about a new way of communicating with each other. I mentioned at the beginning that Something True circles is based in nonviolent communication. And I love when, I think his name is Satya Nadella, who took over as CEO of Microsoft. He took the nonviolent communication book and handed it out to all of his direct reports, all the people that answered to him, and said, this is the way we're going to communicate now. For the prior decade, Microsoft was in, and I hate this term, but I think you'll know what I mean. The culture was what we would call toxic masculinity. And so this is an entirely new way of speaking with others, communicating with others, and listening to others.
So I'm going to encourage people to get the book, and because your book goes through all of the structure of the circle. But for now, can you just give us a little bit of an overview of what are the guidelines like in a something true circle that would be different, for example, than just a circle of people sitting around and talking?
Yeah, I think it sounds kind of funny, but really the group, whether it's 3 people, 10 people, 50 people, I think it sounds funny, just placing your hands on your heart with a sense of reverence and just starting there and say, we're going to speak to each other from here. I'm going to put my hand up here a little bit. This is how we're going to communicate with each other. Now, in my circle, I go really deep, and it might not be appropriate in a work environment, but I literally, we together call in what we call the energy of compassion. And we call in, there are guides, beings, and angels that literally serve the energy of compassion. We call in all the guides and beings and angels that serve unconditional love, harmony, healing, compassion, and wisdom. And so there is an intentional creation of space. This is where I say the book, I'm asking everybody to be creative, use their intuition, and see where it fits for each situation. You could do something like that at work. I don't know how well it would be received. But even if it was just stop, breathe, relax, even just that, creating that little bit of space for the next 15 minutes, we're going to speak really honestly with each other. And we're going to express not only what we think, but what we feel. And so I think whoever the leader is in this is going to probably have to adapt it to the situation. Ours is probably a little bit deeper and more, a little bit more involved than it would be maybe in a casual family gathering or casual workplace meeting.
And you mentioned that there are usually 3 rounds where
Yeah.
so there is a structure. And so there's round 1 where people share on a certain level, round 2, round 3. Can you
Yeah.
just give us an overview of
Sure.
that?
Yeah. So round 1 is us just trying to get comfortable with each other. And usually I tell them to say what their name is, and an icebreaker question. It can be something like, if you bought a boat, what kind of boat would you buy and why? It can be, if you were a landscape, what kind of landscape would you be and why? It can be something funny. It can be something in a large group. I try to keep it moving quickly. I might say, tell us where you're born and tell us where you live now. In the men's work I did and a lot of the something true circles, sometimes I would ask people, do you have an animal totem or an animal name? A lot of people have done ceremonies in the past where they have an animal name. And I said, if not, what's your favorite animal and why? And, one of the things I love about this kind of thing is there's some big rough looking men that have animal names like kind deer and gentle bunny, which again, we're trying to see people at a deeper level and not just, maybe the gruff looking exterior. It's a big rough looking guy that has the name kind deer. There's probably more to him than big and gruff. And so that's round 1. Round 2 is when we go deep, and it kind of depends on how many people are in the circle. But on average, each person has 5 minutes to share about anything they want. Like I said, daughter scoring goals in soccer, suicidal thoughts, challenges in their life, fear around, changes in employment, spiritual experiences, or loneliness. It can be anything at all. And in general, it tends to be a little bit of what I would call, it can feel like a little bit of I've never been able to share this with anybody before. That's pretty much what comes out. And then round 3 is some version of a checkout. And again, you have to sometimes be flexible. You have to kind of watch the clock. I do watch the clock, Lauren. And so it can be checkout with, typically it's an expression of gratitude. And oftentimes the most common checkout is, wow, I really love what Lauren shared. Like that touched me so deeply. Like that's what I was grateful for. Or it can be anything at all, but usually an expression of gratitude or some sort of a takeaway. Like, what I learned from the circle is this. And when I get home, I'm going to start doing this.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Well, let's let people know how they can find your book and what you also have available. You've written a couple of other books too. So
Yeah.
please share
Yeah.
about how people can connect with you.
Sure. So this is the book. If you can see it on the camera there, Something True Circles. You can find it on Amazon. Um, and then a couple of years ago, I wrote my first book called The Synchronicity of Love. It's, I forget, like 130 short stories that are mostly true stories, little snippets of my life, the last 20 years, kind of a spiritual odyssey, as well as some very human stories as well, because those of us having spiritual odysseys bump up against very human crap as well. So it can be really challenging. And then I just finished, but it won't be out till next month, a book called Stories from Our Future. And as we've talked about, I have a very rich dream life and a wide variety of dreams. And a lot of those dreams have been very, very helpful in guiding the arc and evolution in my life, teaching me a lot, telling me things, never tell me what to do, just lay it out there like, John, you could keep doing this if you want. And, but you could do this. And as well as some dreams that are what I would call premonitory dreams, dreams that are way, way out in the future. And so, and so that book will be out on Amazon as well in January. So if you're interested in dreams and how dreams can actually guide your life, and in some ways show what your future life is going to be, that's what that book is about.
Fantastic. And we didn't even tell people about your background. I mean, John is a very successful entrepreneur, has run and sold a very successful company, and it started out on the side, has this rich spiritual life. And I love that you're now in a space where you can share your deep and profound spiritual insights and experiences with the rest of us, because it's so relevant and we're all connected. So thank you for being my guest today.
Oh, I'm so grateful for the invitation, Lauren. Thank you very much.
And if you had one thing that you wish people could take away or want to, leave with and apply, especially about your book, what would that be?
I think, the book is really easy read, as you know, and I think the book has a vibe. And I'm hoping if the reader reads the book, they can feel the vibe and they'll want to take that vibe out into the world. And it is ultimately a very new way to communicate with each other. And again, I kind of have my eye on the future. I have my eye on the prize. And I actually think this is where mankind is headed, is we are going to learn, language can be really messy and people misunderstand each other all the time. But creating a space like this where people can be real with each other and listen to each other without judgment, I think it's a beautiful thing, and I would love to encourage as many people as possible to experiment with this.
Thank you so much. I agree wholeheartedly. So for those of you listening, if you want to make a difference in the world, this is one thing that you can do to, and it's free other than buying the book. It's a format, a template to be able to help build more connection and more emotional intelligence and more ways that we can actually show up authentically and practice coming from the heart. So if this struck something in you today, please leave a comment, connect with us. You can find John's information. Oh, wait, did we talk about your website? Where's your website, John?
Yes, it's easy. It's my name, John David Latta, and it's Latta is my last name, johndavidlatta.com. There's lots of information on the site about my books, stuff I'm teaching, a lot of stories that I've written, and you can find everything. And if you want to contact me, in fact, if you buy the book and like, hey, this looks great, but I got a couple of questions, drop me an email. Be love to help you with that.
Love it. Thanks for being so available and accessible. And we will also have all the information about how to contact John in the show notes. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you found this inspiring, uplifting, and practical, something that you can apply in real life to change not only your life, but make a difference, a positive ripple in this world. And until next time, may you breathe deeper, love wider, and show up with the energy that only you can bring. Thank you.
And thanks for listening to Vivatude. 4 hosts, 1 each week. We help you revivitude your next chapter, because purpose, passion, and prosperity isn't out there. They're already within you. Brighter, bolder, truer. Vivatude.